Ooh. Ah, what a day. Let's change that thumbnail. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. It's gonna be much better. Take a look. Take a look. Guys, who speaks at 7:30 in the morning, bro? Bro, I don't look good. I don't look good. Who speaks at 7:30 in the morning? Just tell me that. Leave it. Let me just change. I need to change the thumbnail really quick. But I just wanted to be here. You know what's up, bro? I woke up. Oh my. Um. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one. Let me change the thumbnail. I'm gonna change the thumbnail. How you doing, fam? Man. All right. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Man. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. Yesterday, I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I'm here. Praise the Lord God Almighty. All right. Thumbnail change. Fired. All right. Changing thumbnail. Boom. All right. What's up, guys? What's up? Oh, man. Yeah. Sound is good. Sound is good. How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? So, allow me, give me a break a little bit because it's so early. So early. Can believe it. Well, for some people, live from the Philippines. Let's go. Yeah, I know. I know you guys. Some of you are. It's a little bit late for. No, like a normal time for you, right? Because everybody's live from all different places. Let me check if I have the thumbnail, the right thumbnail right now. Checking. Yeah. XRP Fed Chair Powell live now. He fired? Heh. Question mark. What's up? 1,000 people. Very quickly, very powerful. Let's go XRP. Let me take a look at the fan funding. Loic, how's it going, buddy? Welcome. Get up. And Tarek. Let's go for dollar XRP. Guys, I'm gonna buy more crypto. What should I buy? I've been buying and allocating a bunch of Ethereum, as you know. And by the way, fam, we already gave the money away. Chair Powell delivers opening remarks at the integrated review at the Capital Framework for Large Banks conference. Can we change that to Chair Powell resigns? Oh, imagine, bro. Not expect a rate cut. Nah, that's gonna happen on the FOMC is at the end of the month. This is just something else. There it is. 500x leverage. Chris, what's up, man? Toasted, what's up, buddy? Good to have you and welcome. What is this? Error. Let me send it again. Good. All right, now it went through. Even YouTube is glitching. It's too early for YouTube. Who knows? Too early for YouTube as well. Now, what kind of volatility are we going to have? Awesome. I thought I was going to be late, but no, I'm not late, which is good. How you doing, everybody? Good morning and welcome. Man. You ready? Yes, I'm ready, bro. I need water. I'm going to get some water. Today we have some good videos planned, but we're here too. Isaac in the house, Christian in the house, Big Red Clifford in the house too. Welcome. Feeling big green day. Let's go. Um, yes, I'm gonna. I really want to buy a bunch of crypto today. So, oh yes, I was gonna tell you that we gave the money away yesterday, guys. I want to thank you for helping us. The winner was Jasper of the $750 on my 750 giveaway, 100,000 special. So the money was, given away yesterday, the 21st. So thank you, Casper, and congrats. So well done. Well done. We always like to bless people. Well, we always like to give money away. All the money that I gratefully receive from my community. Oftentimes, I'm like, it's time to give money away, and that's what we do. So, just FY and period. Happy that people know, right? Pengu. Haven't even checked Pengu, but I think we're doing good on Pengu, Take a look. Take a look. $3.94 trillion. Wow. $3.94 trillion, guys. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Isn't that beautiful? What are we doing here? Oh, man. Pengu is doing super sexy right now. Very, very good, Pengu. Very, very good. Look at this. Yeah, very good. Shiba Inu, Pepe, Doge. Dogecoin also is doing very, very, decent. What's up, Hobium? Hello. I mean, almost $4 trillion here on CoinMarketCap. On CoinGecko, it's already $4 trillion. Yep, almost $4 trillion. I think the only reason why a lot of people might be interested in what Powell has to say today, guys, is because President and every single one of us and every single one of the people in the industry, we all are expecting his resignation. Everybody's like, when are you leaving, dude? Like, for reals. You're fired. The end of the Fed. Too late. Regards. Powell needs to go. No update. Why so late? Why does he resign? You see, bro? So many news and updates the last couple of days and weeks about Powell possibly getting kicked. Pump it up, and don't you know? Pump it up. That will never happen, 12 ESS. All right, let's go ahead and get some more crypto. I was waiting yesterday because I was like, nah, let's see what it does. But yesterday was just chill. Very, very, very chill. All right. Let's see. Gonna move some money around. Because my goal, fam, as you know, I've been transparent with my comments here, is that a lot of people are adding XRP to their VAX, which is incredible. And finally, let's take a look.
Everyone to get seated, but thank you so much for taking care of that for me. So in about 5 minutes, we will get started with Chair Powell. Thanks so much.
5 minutes to go. Don't you know? Pump it. Let me go for some watercito. Water. Welcome. Drop a like, fam. Subscribe to the channel. Get everything ready here. And why don't we, if it's in 5 minutes, we have some time for some pump it up. I mean, it's Tuesday, right? Morning, Oscar. I know, dude. Where's your poll? Oh, okay, I know. Okay. There's the poll. And give me a break. Corn Baron in the house. All right. All right. Soon. Oh, yes. We got some pineapple juice, mango, yogurt, and nice banana. All right, praise the Lord. We're locked in. Good morning, guys. Welcome. My corn baron in the house. We gotta buy crypto now. Doing it after I get my banana. That was good. So he's not going to say anything about Trump or so. He's the last person that he's going to get political today, but everybody's like, come on, dude, just resign. Solana, bro. Solana. Look at that. Good job. John Jonas in the house. Welcome, buddy. All right, he's there.
I'm here to deliver the 4-minute warning. Not really. Let's get started. Good morning to everyone, and welcome to the Federal Reserve Board. I'm very pleased, though not surprised, to see such great interest in the topic of today's conference, the integrated review of the capital framework for large banks. And I want to thank Vice Chair for Supervision Bowman for having the great idea of holding this event at the outset of her term. I'd also like to thank Fed staff for their tireless work in putting the conference together. So today, we'll hear the perspectives of industry veterans, academics, and current and former policymakers who are all well-versed in the operations of large banks and the main pillars of the capital framework. A great benefit of this conference is the chance to consider all elements of the capital framework in concert, rather than look at each in isolation. We need to ensure that all the different pieces of the capital framework work together effectively. Doing so will help maintain a safe, sound, and efficient banking system for the benefit of those versed in the operations of large banks and the main pillars of the capital framework. A great benefit of this conference is the capital framework in concert, rather than look at each in isolation. We need to ensure that all the different pieces of the capital doing so will help maintain a safe, sound, and efficient banking system for the benefit of the people we serve. The U.S. bank capital framework includes risk-based capital banks and the stress tests. We will discuss the status of each of those elements and the road ahead in a comprehensive manner today. As this audience will know well, we have proposals.
This audio is lagged
And
and
large banks to be well capitalized and to manage their key risks well. And we need large
got
banks
better.
to be free to compete with one another, with non-bank financial institutions and with banks in other jurisdictions to provide capital and support economic growth. The Fed is a dynamic institution. We're open to hearing new ideas and feedback on how to improve the capital framework for large banks, and I look forward to hearing from today's participants. Thanks again to all of you for joining us today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Chair Powell. Welcome, everyone. My name is Amal Vaidya. I'm sure I've been inundating your email box with Capital Conference 2025 emails for registration and logistics. I will go over a couple of quick housekeeping things, and we will start the next panel at 9 a.m. As you know, this is a secure building, so our colleagues in law enforcement do ask that you keep your badges on you at all times. If you need to step out for a moment, anyone who you see that does not have a badge on is Federal Reserve staff. They are part of our events team supporting this great event. They're happy to escort you to a coat room or step out to make a phone call. On that point, we do ask that you silence or put your cell phones on vibrate for the duration of this event. And with that said, we will get the next panel started at 9 a.m. Thanks so much.
excuse me, what? Powell, where you at? Dude, what are you talking about? Nah. No. What are you talking about, Powell? Once again, we got scammed. Opening remarks. That was it? That was it? No. Wow. It's going to be a nothing burger day today. Powell listening to himself talk. Let's
I'm here to deliver the 4-minute warning. Not really. Let's get started. Good morning to everyone, and welcome to the Federal Reserve Board. I'm very pleased, though not surprised, to see such great interest in the topic of today's conference, the integrated review of the capital framework for large banks. And I want to thank Vice Chair for Supervision Bowman for having the great idea of holding this event at the outset of her term. I'd also like to thank Fed staff for their tireless work in putting the conference together. So today, we'll hear the perspectives of industry veterans, academics, and current and former policymakers who are all well-versed in the operations of large banks. And the role of this conference is the chance to consider all elements of the capital framework in concert, rather than look at each in isolation. We need to ensure that all the different pieces of the capital framework work together effectively. Doing so will help maintain a safe, sound, and efficient banking system for the benefit of the people we serve. The U.S. bank capital framework includes risk-based capital requirements, leverage requirements, the surcharge for the largest and most complex banks, and the stress tests. We will discuss the status of each of those elements and the road ahead in a comprehensive manner today. As this audience will know well, we have proposals outstanding or in the works across all 4 areas. Our regulatory capital framework and all banking rules are implemented through supervision, an area where Vice Chair for Supervision Bowman brings deep experience as a former banker and state supervisor. As she has noted, we need to make sure that our supervisory practices focus on the critical areas that determine safety and soundness. We need our large banks to be well capitalized and to manage their key risks well. And we need large banks to be free to compete with one another, with non-bank financial institutions and with banks in other jurisdictions to provide capital and support economic growth. The Fed is a dynamic institution. We're open to hearing new ideas and feedback on how to improve the capital framework for large banks, and I look forward to hearing from today's participants. Thanks again to all of you for joining us today. Thank you.
What's up, fam? Good morning and welcome. So that was the opening remarks from the Federal Reserve Chair Powell. Nothing more, nothing less, just straight to the point as expected. We had like 11,000 people here. So it comes to show that a lot of people kind of like thought, because nobody knows how this event is going to go, right? But right now they're waiting for like a panel. I'm going to wait for the panel to come out. If I don't see Powell, okay, that's it. Right? We're here to hear the man of the hour, right? Let's see if he says anything. Yep. The video volume is on them. It's on them. So I'm doing the best I can. But it always happens that volumes are so that low, bro, that it sucks. Very much sucks, but it's okay. It is what it is. This is what he said, and that's about it. Now, as we wait, price of everything is consolidated very nicely. The Solana fam today is just outperforming, the rest of crypto. Ooh, 38.25. Man, Pengu is doing it, bro. I'm so happy. So happy for that. This weekend I was like, I have some Solana. Why don't I just go all in on something? And it was a just great segue to go from Solana to Pengu. And I was looking at everything. I'm like, this makes sense. And I'm well above 20% up, which is really nice. It helps a lot. I gotta tell you that. So, and the good thing is that I told my team, actually, told my community as well. So just keeping everything checked. Pengu. What did Powell say? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. A lot of people are obviously waiting for the big breaking stories that everybody wants to hear from Penguin, you know, from Chair Jerome Powell. Like this one. Fed Jerome Powell hit with criminal referral by House Representative, Luna. So imagine how many people are like, dude, are you gonna say something about this? Like, go ahead. That's what we all want to hear, you know? But no, he's not gonna say anything, and he may not say anything at the FOMC. That's we know him. That's the way he is. Federal House Director Holt says Fed Chair Jerome Powell resignation speech is coming soon. Like, these are not just YouTubers or whoever, right? Nobody's right saying, oh, he might resign. No, these are some of them elected officials. There you have it. You're seeing it on the screen. You're seeing it on the screen. There's Trump saying, lower the rates, please. That's another one. Besant on Fed Powell today. Term ends in May. He should resign, see through if he wants. So, not sure what's going through his mind, but maybe he likes the attention. I don't know. He knows that he cannot get fired, but it's so, like, I saw this yesterday. I'm like, I wonder what he's gonna say, but in classic Powell fashion, right? He says nothing that you want to hear. Look at this, Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff says Powell blames all of the near-term inflation risk on tariffs. In truth, the overall risk results from past and present Fed monetary policy of repeated QE, quantitative easing, and keeping interest rates too low for too long. What do we have?
Ready to go? Good. Good morning, everyone. Before anything else, I want to thank Vice Chair Bowman for setting up this really engaging conference. We learned last night at dinner that this has all happened very quickly, and then this is essentially an unprecedented type of conference for addressing proposals for new rulemaking. So this particular panel has been asked to address changes in the enhanced supplementary leverage ratio, or ESLR, and various other leverage ratio related capital requirements. In the notice of the proposal for rulemaking, the agencies have noted that this virtue of a simple and transparent rule has some unintended adverse consequences, the focus of which in the agency's proposal is the implications for intermediation in the U.S. Treasury market. So what the plan for this panel is that I'm going to ask some questions to the panelists, who I'm going to introduce in a moment, that we have teed up in advance.
David in the house.
But in order to keep it lively and engaging, I'm going to get some candid reactions across the panel to each other's comments, and then I'm going to turn it over to you all for questions and answers. So prepare your thoughts and give us some challenging and useful questions, please.
Is he gonna get fired or not?
To introduce the panel, to my immediate left is Tiffany Eng. Tiffany is the Global Treasurer of BNY, a financial services company and primary settlement provider for the U.S. Treasury market. Tiffany is a former OCC regulatory attorney. To Tiffany's left is Don Cohn, whom everybody knows, senior fellow at Brookings. Don is a former vice chair of the Federal Reserve Board and former member of the Financial Policy Committee of the Bank of England. To Don's left is Brian Monteleone. Brian is head of global investment grade credit research and senior bank analyst at Vanguard. Prior to Vanguard, Brian was a top-ranked credit analyst on the sell side, covering global financials for 20 years. And to Brian's left, Hal Scott, emeritus professor, Harvard Law School. Hal is also adjunct professor at Harvard Kennedy School and director of the Committee on Capital Markets Regulation. And finally, to the far left is Ben Wiener, partner in Sullivan and Cromwell's Financial Services and Capital Markets Groups. Ben advises banking organizations on regulatory capital, stress testing, resolution planning, and capital market transactions. So I'm going to ask Hal to set us off on first principles. Why do we actually have a leverage ratio rule? And what is the history of this requirement? Do we actually need a leverage ratio rule? And does the backstop rationale for that rule still apply today? Hal?
Thank you, Darrell, and the organizers of this conference.
Your mic, sir.
The leverage ratio sets,
Your mic.
a minimum. Sorry. The leverage ratio sets, as you know, a minimum capital level for bank based on its total value of its assets, regardless of the riskiness of those assets. It operates in parallel with the risk-weighted standards, which set separate minimums that do vary based on riskiness. The theory is that without a risk-insensitive leverage ratio, a bank might be free to expand its balance sheet by acquiring riskless assets without limit. But this is not a realistic model of how banks operate. Banks seek to employ capital to the highest returning activity. So what is the history of this requirement? The basic leverage ratio was not adopted in concert with the other aspects of our capital regime as part of any integrated whole. It is a vestige of the pre-Basel era. So before Basel, all we had was a leverage requirement. And it was their finding fault with this leverage requirement that actually led us to risk-based capital. So indeed, with the introduction of Basel's risk-weighted approach, the banking agencies intended that risk-weight standards, not the leverage ratio, would take over as the primary determinant of a bank's capital. After the financial crisis, the largest banks were then subjected to the supplementary leverage ratio, and in the case of GSIBs, the enhanced supplementary leverage ratio, ESLR, which is a more stringent version of the SLR. Importantly, when the banking agencies implemented Basel I's risk-weighted standards in 1989, most commentators argued that the leverage ratio should be dropped because having two separate sets of capital requirements would be duplicative and unnecessary, and the risk-based one was better than the old leverage one. And the agencies seriously considered doing away with the leverage ratio, but they ultimately chose to retain it. They were not confident in the accuracy of the novel and untested then risk weightings. And at the time, risk-weighted standards only accounted for credit risk, not market, operational, or interest rate risk, which was also an important part of thinking about bank capital. But we're far along now in the process. Here we are in 2025, and risk-weighted standards have evolved during this period of time. They have since their beginning been supplemented to incorporate market risk and operational risk, and now incorporate complex modeling that did not exist at the time of Basel I. Moreover, interest rate risk is continually monitored by bank examiners as part of the supervisory framework and could be incorporated into risk-based capital if you wanted to do that. We also have several other safeguards in the capital framework that did not exist at that time, like the stress testing regime. So there are strong arguments that the concerns that motivated the retention of the leverage ratio have been mitigated by subsequent enhancements and refinement of the overall capital framework. The leverage ratio is now a frequently binding requirement for the largest institutions, meaning that it requires more capital than the risk-weighted standards. This is inconsistent with the agency's original rationale for retaining the leverage ratio, which was that it would sort of be a backup for the insufficiency of the risk-weighted requirements. Bank capital levels, to conclusion, Harold, are at all-time highs now, well above what Basel and other jurisdictions required. I think we need to step back at this point, which is the whole purpose of this conference, and ask ourselves, with respect to the leverage ratio, not only focus on ESLR, but whether we need it at all. Thank you.
Thanks. Does anyone want to react? What about the issue of intersecting types of capital requirements? Does that cause problems when different banks are subject to different rules at different times? Any views on the panel?
Is he gonna get
Well, I
fired or
have two
not?
observations about the role of the leverage ratio in the broader framework. One is just, I know this conference is primarily focused on large banks, but we do have the community bank leverage ratio for smaller community banks. So there can be benefits in having a leverage ratio for particular institutions. They could have a simpler framework. But I think also the fact that the leverage ratio is itself simple also illustrates one of its potential benefits. I mean, we've seen in stress periods, there's often a focus on simplified metrics. That was certainly the case during the financial crisis. To some extent, it was also the case during 2023. It wasn't necessarily the leverage ratio that was a focus, but there was a focus on things, metrics such as tangible common equity or others that are simple. So the simplicity of the leverage ratio, if it's properly designed and calibrated, could play a complementary role, both for smaller banking organizations if they wanted to have a simpler framework versus the complexity of calculating risk-weighted assets, but also more generally to have a component of the capital framework that sort of the benefit of it is its simplicity, particularly in times of stress.
There's also the issue of assets that turn out to be more risky than
That's
they're
him.
modeled to be.
He's there. He's there.
And this is a backstop for that. So the obvious example from history is AAA subprime mortgage tranches, which weren't really AAA, but were modeled to be AAA, and capital held against them, and it was a disaster.
Yes, Brian.
I'm just add when you look at 2023, leverage requirements didn't necessarily catch the buildup in what seemed to be risk-free assets at some banks that ended up having trouble. So I think, and the important thing is, as Ben said, properly calibrated. And it's difficult to perfectly calibrate a risk-based or a leverage requirement in advance. So I think, vigilance and staying on top of, risk is ultimately the key. You can't just rely purely.
Let's listen to former Fed chair.
Ask you two other quick questions. We've talked for many years, Secretary, about crypto. I think you have been a critic or at least a skeptic, and we have watched crypto just explode. Obviously, the Genius Act just passing last week. What do you think now?
Well, I have concerns about some of the legislation that was passed. I convened, I believe it was in 2022, the President's Working Group on Financial Markets to make recommendations about the appropriate regulation of stable coins. And I'm pleased to see that Congress did take up that topic and that a framework has been put in place. But unfortunately, I think it contains significant weaknesses. And so it's not all that I would have wanted to see. And that does give me concerns about what the role of stable coins, for example, will be going forward, whether or not there are adequate controls in place. And I believe they present financial stability risks that should be addressed.
Classic financial dinosaurs, they
It's
say.
a key reason to recalibrate the leverage ratios.
This volume is so
But is it
low.
better to lower the leverage ratios embedded in SLR or ESLR and the Tier 1 leverage ratios? Or would it be better to have a more targeted fix to address Treasury market functioning, like exemptions?
Thank you, Daryl. And let me kick off by thanking Vice Chair Bowman and the Federal Reserve for bringing us together today on this important topic. Let's spend a moment on Treasury market functioning.
Tengu.
As a treasurer, that topic is so critical. We use treasuries for liquidity management, collateral hedging, and it's all linked to the Treasury market being the biggest, deepest, most liquid bond market in the world. Stands at close to 30 trillion today and growing. So supporting a resilient Treasury market is important for the broader financial system, which we're all invested in. There are two key tenets to that. One is safety and another is liquidity. In terms of safety, there are a range of enhancements already in flight, including the central clearing mandate. In terms of liquidity, supporting and deepening the market for Treasury securities, which is growing, is critical. In our seat, knowing that a Treasury security can be converted to cash easily, quickly, and in all market environments is so important. And that's all predicated on an ecosystem of buyers, holders, sellers, intermediaries. And the intermediation of Treasuries is particularly important in periods of stress. At BNY, we have a unique vantage point into the Treasury market, and we do see elevated Treasury volumes in periods of market uncertainty or stress. In those periods, the market is operationally resilient, but we have seen periods of funding market pressures or dysfunction. And that tends to stem from an imbalance of buyers and sellers in the market. So it is exactly in those moments where having intermediaries who are ready, willing, able to support the Treasury market and the continued liquidity in the market is most critical. So that brings us to the topic here today, leverage reform. Leverage ratios across the supplemental leverage ratio as well as the Tier 1 leverage ratio in their current construct can disincentivize banks from intermediating Treasuries during those periods of stress, exactly when it's needed most. And another dimension to this is typically in those periods of volatility, there's also heightened balances typically of cash or deposits on bank balance sheets. So banks' ability to act as a shock absorber for both cash and Treasury securities can be constrained by leverage ratios as they're constructed today. Now, the proposal offers solutions to that, and there are a couple flavors to that, and there are considerations for each. One flavor is to lower the overall leverage requirement, and that does create extra capacity for banks. However, banks still have the discretion on how to use that capacity, and it may not be there in a period of stress. Another flavor is to specifically target cash and Treasury securities and exclude those particular assets from the leverage requirement. And in that case, it's a more direct support for Treasury intermediation and for banks to act as shock absorbers for cash in those periods of stress. Now, I'll posit that leverage reform is one facet of a multifaceted approach to support market liquidity. It really goes in harmony with public and private solutions, including government facilities, such as the discount window and the standing repo facility, as well as private solutions, including recent innovations such as early morning repo or intraday repo. So taken together, as I take a step back as a treasurer, every day we're focused on resilience and we're managing a range of risk measures: capital, liquidity, interest rate risk, just as I mentioned. And that's just to name a few. And we're thinking about a wide range of scenarios.
Just open this
like
one,
to
guys.
Say, better to prepare rather
To my subscribers and my Discord servers, and well, when I'm doing lives, I always like to show you guys. I got this one, decent long right now. Everything looks so bullish, so I'll just go ahead and get a little bit of a position. And I got a little bit of a Ethereum right now, very sexy and nice, getting my feet wet. I got another Cardano position on the 17 when I bought Pengu. So I've been making some positions, guys. I tell my community who are subscribed to me, and of course my Discord community patron. So thank you so much for your support. Got some positions in.
This issue of exemptions for certain safe assets versus lowering of the of the leverage ratio number itself came up at our dinner table last night, and there was a range of views, but rather than trying to review those, I'd like to get the views of our panel. So how about a quick run of the panel on whether exemptions in addition to or as an alternative to the proposal would be beneficial overall?
So I would be concerned about exempting treasuries because of the interest rate risk that could be encouraged. Banks would be encouraged, I think, to take with just exempting treasuries entirely. Now, I'd like the alternative in the proposal for exempting treasuries in the dealer that are on the dealer's books that are marked to market and subject to the capital, the market capital requirements. But just a blanket exemption of treasuries, I think would raise other issues that need to be addressed.
Brian, do you have a view?
Yeah, I would just say, while the proposal creates significant capacity today, there could be future states of the world where ESLR became binding again, at least on some banks, and it would be helpful to have something countercyclical to offset that, the trade-offs between different solutions.
Hal?
I prefer the approach that was taken rather than exemptions, but I would say with respect to any of these proposals, we need better data on exactly what the impact of them would be on liquidity in the Treasury market in a crisis, given the fact that the dealers only account for, not a lion's share of this market to start with.
And Ben?
In terms of specific exposure exemptions, I think it's important to think about that in the context of the broader framework. We discussed earlier the fact that under the narrow exclusion, there would still be the market risk capital requirements, but also there are many other aspects of the regulatory framework. There are also many aspects of the supervisory framework. So looking at what else is there to address the concerns if there might be exemptions for specific exposures, more of a holistic view.
Yeah, again, we haven't been able to get much disagreement. There was an intriguing remark last night at our dinner table on the implications of exemptions for Treasury securities, which is that in the international financial stability framework, some other countries might be tempted to also depart from the general spirit of the SLR, exempt their own government securities, and in some cases that might have adverse implications for international financial stability. So I'm going to turn next to Brian, and I want to address the issue that's come up already, which Tiffany mentioned, which is resilience. The resilience of the Treasury market to events like March 2020 have been more prominent in the interagency working group papers on Treasury market reform than everyday liquidity. Do you think the proposed reduction in the ESLR is likely to improve Treasury market liquidity on normal days? Would the proposal improve Treasury market liquidity during a crisis? Is there an advantage, and I think you alluded to this a moment ago, to waiting for crisis conditions, as in March 2020, before lowering or exempting from the SLR?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Daryl. And also, thanks for having me here to speak today. I appreciate it. So I'd say Treasury market liquidity today, normal times, is generally working fine. You could look across a lot of measures, on the run, off the run, spread, market depth, swap spreads, futures basis, all kind of operating fine today. That said, banks are economic actors, and to the extent there was client demand and you had a significant increase in leverage exposure capacity under the proposal, then I think at least at some of the GSIBs there could be incremental capacity deployed to low RWA activity, which could on the margin improve liquidity on a normal trading day. I wouldn't expect banks to go out and buy a bunch of long duration for their banking book, but think client financing, client intermediation. In terms of the second point around crisis, you mentioned March 2020. I think that's a great example, right? It seemed like balance sheet constraints were contributing to a deterioration in market liquidity. And
Well, as tensions remain high between the White House and the central bank, a Republican congresswoman is hitting Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell with a criminal referral to the Justice Department. Florida GOP Representative Anna Paulina Luna is accusing Powell of lying under oath about costly Federal Reserve renovations during a June 25th Senate committee hearing. She also claims he misrepresented reasons for the price increase in a letter sent to the Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought. Luna's filing comes as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent calls for a review of the entire Federal Reserve to examine its function and its success. Last week, President Trump denied White House reports that he was planning to fire the Fed chair. Trump has repeatedly demanded that Powell lower U.S. interest rates despite inflation remaining above the Fed's 2% goal. Well, as tensions remain high.
There you have it, everybody. There you have it, everybody. Right now, things are looking bullish in crypto. And Powell, I was expecting more, bro, to be honest with you. But as expected, to everybody who came here right now, he made a very, very, very short statement. And I'm not sure if he's going to speak again because we don't really have an agenda. That was him.
Work for large banks.
Volume is low.
Vice Chair for Supervision Bowman for having the great idea of holding this event at the outset of her term.
There were a lot of people, at least more than 10,000 people ready to listen and see what he could say. Obviously, this is not the setting to speak about all the allegations against him, but maybe in a different time, which that different time is going to be in about 8 days from now. That's when the FOMC is going to happen. So you and I, we have a date for that FOMC, and I already know I'm locked in, guys, as to when reporters will actually have a time to speak out and ask, dude, are you actually leaving or not? Because usually he's not known to go ahead and reply to Trump, but he has no other way to do it. I mean, he's going to tell everybody what he's thinking, and because there's now more, you can tell how Republicans and the White House and even Congress, I mean, they're somewhat trying to get him out, right? The pressure is on. So we'll see eventually what happens. Right now, from 353 to 251 XRP, some people are trying to stop the pump because we want to go up. So fam, drop a like, consider subscribing. Thank you so very much for coming in. Just wanted to do a quick one, see if he was going to say something more, but it was just like 2-3 minutes. So in classic Jerome Powell fashion, right? Not much going on, but we still had a good time. It's very early, so we'll go ahead and wait a little bit more for our next one. But yeah, it's Tuesday, and go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so very much for coming in, to all the donors and moderators and my awesome members. What a nice double cheese smoked nothing burger. Andy poll was, should Powell resign? And the answer is, with 4,000 votes, yes, 82%.
Other views? If not, I'm gonna move on and ask Ben a question.
I'm gonna move on to ask Chair Jerome Powell, are you resigning, sir? If so, when? Peace. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good one. And people are buying the dip. You might say, Oscar, what dip? What dip? We're not seeing any dip. I know, but hey, people are buying and they want to send it, pump it up. Cheers, everybody. Thank you. Double tough cheese nothing burger, 100%. A lot of people were waiting for that, but now we just realized that he's saying nothing, so it happens. Thank you, my JB, TJ. I'll see you, fam. Cheaper. Thank you, guys. John. Thank you, my friends.